Welcome back to Wrestling Talk. I am Alexis Carrillo, and it is March 25th, 2022. On a Friday, we are just a week away from the biggest show of them all in WrestleMania. So we've got that to look forward to in the upcoming weeks. But today's show, I want to start with some breaking news. And it is not an understatement to say that I literally woke up today and the first thing I saw on my Twitter feed was that Triple H was announcing his official retirement from in-ring competition. He had a sit-down interview with Stephen A. Smith on a show. I forgot the name of the show on ESPN Plus. I believe that show, that interview is going to air later on tonight, where Triple H basically took him and, of course, the audience on a step-by-step journey of how bad things got for him, to the point that now, fortunately, he's healthy. Fortunately, he's able to go back to as normal of a life as he can. But his in-ring competition, his in-ring career is officially over. And with how he described everything he went through to get to the point of making this decision, I have to say, I am truly very happy, very grateful that all these steps took place and that this has led to Triple H's in-ring retirement, because at the end of the day, they are people, they are humans, they have families that they care about and that they should be with regardless of anything else. So if that means we're never going to see Triple H compete inside a WWE ring in an active match or as an active superstar, then so be it. Because that's just entertainment, and entertainment is dispensable. It doesn't really matter. It's an escape from real life, and Triple H needs to be with his family. He needs to be with his 3 daughters and his wife, Stephanie McMahon, and that is everything that matters. But for the most part, fortunately, it seems, and the way he described it, Triple H last fall, it was described back then as a cardiac event that led to him having surgery. A lot of people back then speculating about how serious it was, or whether it wasn't serious or not. Now we come to find that it was of the most serious category, because Paul Levesque informed Stephen A. Smith that he had heart failure. That as each day passed by, his heart just wasn't ejecting as much blood into his system as it should be. And I'm not going to get into the details. That's something that you're going to want to hear from him in this interview later on tonight. But it was caught on time, and Triple H went into surgery as soon as possible, and that obviously resulted in him surviving this cardiac event. And now he has to live with a defibrillator on his chest. And obviously he said that he doesn't want to make an appearance on live WWE TV anytime soon because of that, which I'm hoping that changes, because after everything that's passed on, after just learning these events from Hunter Hearst Helmsley, from Paul Levesque, calling these events himself, I'm sure every single member of the WWE universe and every single member of the internet wrestling community wants to go ahead and show their appreciation for Triple H and the career he has given to us. And now that it's over, we're able to still cherish him as a person and as a leader. You can go ahead and jump on Twitter, go ahead and jump on social media. Look at all the wrestlers, all the people he's touched with his life, with his career, with his mentorship, with his leadership. So that's ultimately what matters the most. And his last televised match, I believe, was in mid-2019 against Randy Orton in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. That is his last televised match, which, again, due to circumstances, there's no way you can change that anymore, and they shouldn't change that anymore if it's going to put him at risk. But to have your last match be against Randy Orton, I mean, that's a hell of a blessing, because he's one of the best, not just currently in the wrestling world to do it, but to ever do it, along with Triple H himself. So I'd be proud of that. And as far as the memories that Triple H has left us with, as far as an in-ring competition, again, he's only retiring. Again, sorry for the way I'm phrasing this. I'm not particularly experienced with how to phrase this, but his most memorable feud to me, his most memorable rivalry for me, was against Randy Orton on the road to WrestleMania 25 in 2009. I mean, I was 13, 14 years old when I was watching Raw, and I remember three segments in particular, actually, from that feud, from that rivalry. The first one that comes to mind is just Randy Orton handcuffing Triple H to a corner in the middle of the ring, and then RKOing Stephanie, and then sealing that with a kiss. That pissed me off just as much as Triple H did. Probably not as much, of course. You had Triple H break into Randy Orton's house with his wife back in 2009. Obviously, that was all kayfabe, and it was an actress playing his wife at that time. So that was memorable. And then you had the moment that I still go and watch to this day, which is when you had Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes and Ted DiBiase legacy inside the ring. And just one by one, Triple H came out, Shane came out, Vince came out. I can't particularly remember the order they came out, but when it was 3-on-3, and just, I love segments where wrestlers and superstars just, one comes out after the other, and you hear the music, and you just get that excitement right off the bat. So that's a very great moment in my mind. As far as matches go, you know, a lot of people are going to talk about Attitude Era matches, Ruthless Aggression Era matches that they watched live. But I was a little bit too young for that. I can obviously go on Peacock right now and watch those matches back right now, which I might do at the end of this broadcast. But for me, the match that I most remember from Triple H is that end of an era Hell in a Cell match against The Undertaker at WrestleMania 28. Yeah, 28, I believe, with Shawn Michaels as special guest referee. Ups, downs. I mean, they really were three of the greatest to ever lace up a pair of boots, and they told a hell of a story in that match, and they ended up that match itself with the three at the end of the ramp hugging each other after going to war. But, you know, those are just a few of the most recent memories, and just a few off the top of my head from Triple H's in-ring career. He's officially retired from in-ring competition. Hopefully, you know, he's as healthy as possible, which is the silver lining here, which is what should be mattering to most people and most wrestling fans out there. So with that in mind, go ahead and leave in the comment section below your favorite Triple H moments, your favorite Triple H matches, and yeah, just and also just leave down there if you're going to go back and watch a few of those yourself later on today. So go ahead and do that. And not only that, WWE also went ahead and announced that during WrestleMania weekend, they give a certain award two very brave individuals that cause an impact in someone or in the community's life that was very near and dear to the WWE universe. And the WWE announced that they are choosing, rightfully so, and very much deserved, they are choosing to honor the late, great Shad Gaspard with the Warrior Award. Not only for his in-ring tenure with WWE during his time with the company, but because of his brave, and that's an understatement, to say the least, that his sacrifice for his very own young son back in 2020 when they were both in danger of drowning to death. He chose to have the lifeguard save his son, which I'm sure 100 out of 100 fathers would do instead of him. And then, unfortunately, Shad Gaspard lost his life saving his son. So that's if there's something that you want to be remembered for in life, not even about your career, but in life, you giving your life for your son is something that's really honorable. It's wonderful. It's memorable. It's gracious. It's however you want to call it. So WWE, kudos to that. Congratulations. Again, sorry about the phrasing. I'm not really used to this. But overall, WWE is making a great, fantastic decision in doing this. And honestly, all I want to see during the Hall of Fame induction ceremony, when they honor Shad Gaspard with this award, is JTG, his former tag team partner, and Shad Gaspard's family up on the stage receiving the award for Shad Gaspard. And just because this is a wrestling show, I'm going to go ahead and mention that Crime Time was one of my favorite tag teams growing up as a kid. They were always entertaining. You hear their music cry, yo, 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 it's JTG and Shad Gaspard. It's Crime Time. Brooklyn, Brooklyn. I still remember that to this day. It's a fantastic tag team that unfortunately never was afforded the opportunity to capture any WWE World Tag Team Championships. I thought, obviously as a kid, as a fan of theirs, I thought they should have been tag team champions, but that didn't happen. They had that infamous raid of JBL's limo on Monday Night Raw back in 2008. That was memorable. Then they had the most unfortunate of breakups. WWE decided to try and push them as single stars. They broke them up. Mistake right there. They had their match at Extreme Rules in 2010. I believe JTG beat Shad Gaspard during that match, which, to be honest, that was a mistake in itself too, because if you break them up, Shad Gaspard is the bigger individual of the tag team, and he's a heel. He's the bad guy in the match, so have him get the win and continue on the feud. But that's WWE bucking back in 2010. But overall, just Shad Gaspard getting the Warrior Award is very much deserved, and I'm hoping he gets a standing ovation at the Hall of Fame speech during WrestleMania weekend. And now that that's taken care of, we get to talk about professional wrestling. And over the past few days, it's been reported that Cody Rhodes has indeed signed on the dotted line. He is indeed a member of the WWE roster. He has yet to make his debut. He has yet to make his return to the company on actual programming on live TV, but his debut, his return, whatever you want to call it, however you want to categorize it, is imminent. And I have two questions. Number one, is he going to appear on next Monday's go-home edition of Monday Night Raw? Or will he appear until WrestleMania itself? And I know it's a question that I just placed right now, but the answer is pretty simple due to the events of this past Monday Night on Raw, where Seth Rollins pretty much threw a tantrum and said that if he didn't get an answer on his WrestleMania moment this Monday on Raw, then there would be no WrestleMania. And he would make sure of that. So for all intents and purposes, that question answered itself right there. Cody Rhodes is most likely to make his return, make his debut to WWE this Monday night on Raw. I mean, even the crowd this past Monday Night on Raw acknowledged it, chanting Cody Rhodes, and Seth Rollins himself acknowledged it to a point, calling it rumors up until then. So that's question number one, and I believe that Cody Rhodes should be making his return to WWE this Monday Night on Raw, and just to set up that match for WrestleMania. As far as who might win that match, we'll leave that for next week. Alright? And question number two, which version of Cody Rhodes will we see? Which version should we see? Will we see, and in my mind there's only two options. There is only two viable options for Cody Rhodes to make his return to WWE. Number one, have him return as his former character, as Stardust. A very recognizable character during WWE programming. He tagged teamed with Goldust. He was a tag team champion at one point. But in that character, Cody Rhodes was simply just stuck in the mid-card. He was entertaining. He was a part of the show. He was in the same level as Dolph Ziggler. And I'm not trying to throw shade at either of these men. They're both talented in their own right, but Stardust and Dolph Ziggler are characters currently in WWE that are just stuck where they are, or stuck where they were at one point. Doesn't seem like they would ever break that glass ceiling, and WWE took notice of that, and they just kept them, for lack of a better phrase, in their place. So, to WWE, if you're listening to this, if you're watching this, I would not recommend having Cody Rhodes return as Stardust. As entertaining as it would be to have the current version of Seth Rollins, who's crazy, who's loopy, who's very much Joker-esque, interact with Stardust, another crazy Looney Tunes character in WWE, that would just be so funny, so comedic for the very first or 2 or 3 interactions between them, but it wouldn't be as serious. So we have the second option. The second option is to have the American Nightmare himself, Cody Rhodes, make an appearance in WWE. And there are reports stating that this would make quite a statement to the IWC. It would make quite a statement to wrestlers currently in AEW who don't have any past with WWE. In the matter of that, Cody Rhodes built himself up on the indies. His stint in New Japan. Did he wrestle in New Japan? I'm not sure. His stint in Impact Wrestling, his stint in Ring of Honor Wrestling, his stint in AEW, he built out all that up. He became a more serious wrestler. He became an NWA World Champion during that time. He is a former World Champion now, returning to WWE. But to have Cody Rhodes, the American Nightmare, the former EVP and founding member of AEW, that man, that version of Cody Rhodes appear on WWE TV, that would send an earthquake in today's wrestling world. That would send a hell of a message to guys like Kenny Omega, to guys like the Young Bucks, to guys like Hangman Page, like MJF, like Chris Jericho himself. If you come to WWE, if you return to WWE, if that's your case, we're not going to put you down. We're going to treat you with respect. And even though you will have to pay your dues and work your way up the card because even though you're coming from the competition and we want to treat you with respect and we want to treat you like a star, you're not going to be hot-shotted into the main event just because you came from that place. But you will be given a fair chance, and that's something that the WWE right now should be sending out there to any and every performer out there working for their competitors. So it would be in WWE's best interest to have Cody Rhodes return as the American Nightmare in a more serious capacity. Give us a serious feud. Really try to get Cody Rhodes over, because, as we all know, if you have Brock Lesnar, a part-time superstar who debuted back in 2002, still be a part of the main event of WrestleMania and still be an active member of your main event scene, then that really spells trouble for WWE, because they can't create newer stars. They have to work on that. So hopefully Cody Rhodes returns at the American Nightmare and faces off against Seth Rollins this Monday on Raw. What do you think? First of all, do you think Cody Rhodes will indeed return this Monday night on Raw? Do you think that they're going to wait until WrestleMania itself to have him return? Do you think he's going to come back as the American Nightmare? Do you think he's going to come back as Stardust? Leave your thoughts, comments, and predictions on the comment section below, and leave them down there. Do you agree with my opinions on this situation? I'm sure most of you don't, and if you don't, I'll be fine to read those thoughts as well, so leave them in the comment section below. And not too long ago, AEW founder, owner, president, booker, and how many other positions he has in AEW, I don't know, Tony Khan announced that he had purchased Ring of Honor Wrestling. And about a week after that announcement, he pretty much stated that he would be the one to book Ring of Honor Wrestling. He'd be the main booker, he'd be the main writer, he'd be the main matchmaker, whatever you want to call it. Tony Khan would be very hands-on with Ring of Honor Wrestling. Which at first, I read that and I was like, well, no, duh. It makes sense. It makes sense to have Tony Khan book Ring of Honor Wrestling. He's buying that company. He should have a say in what goes on in terms of storylines and in terms of wrestlers and characters. But then I got to thinking. Then I really got to thinking, because as far as I know, Tony Khan is already booking Dynamite. He's booking Rampage. He's booking Dark. He's booking Dark Elevation. And on top of all of that, he has to deal with a lot of other situations not related to in-ring competition, not related to the actual content that they're putting out on TNT and TBS and on YouTube on a weekly basis. He has to deal with a lot of stuff. And the stress that it causes is unthinkable to most of us, because we just haven't lived it. And, it's basic. It's very simple to say, yeah, you can just put this superstar or this wrestler competing against that wrestler, and have that work for a while, then come back to it, then come back to the company, and then, oh, this wrestler won this match, pluck him over here, that wrestler won that match, pluck him that match, pluck him over here, put them together, let's build up to that match. But the fact of the matter is, eventually, if you keep doing that, if you go from booking 4 shows to 5, which doesn't seem like a lot, but it is. It's a lot of shows, even at 4, even at 3, even at 2, even booking 1 show. Look at Raw, look at SmackDown. Look how they're booked. They're not perfect, and neither are AEW's programming. So eventually, Tony Khan is going to get predictable. He's going to get repetitive for the most part, and he's just going to get to the point where, well, that seems like a good matchup. Superstar 1 versus Superstar 2. Have them, just throw them together in the ring. They're going to put on a great match, but no story, no character development, nothing. It's just blah. It's just there. And that's something that, as a wrestling fan, and I'm sure a lot of Ring of Honor wrestling fans out there, they don't want that. They don't want Ring of Honor wrestling to just be a throwaway booking opportunity for Tony Khan. They don't want Ring of Honor wrestling to be just AEW's developmental territory where they're just putting guys that they have nothing for on the main show, much like WWE does with NXT and NXT UK and all the other subsidiaries and developmental programs that they have. Which again, they all work and for the most part are entertaining. So it can work. There is a possibility that it can work, but they have a group, but WWE has a group of writers. And as much as people and wrestling fans knock the group of writers, having people to help you out with ideas, that is still a lot of help. Maybe don't have it a priority, maybe don't have it be the main way you book the show, but just have him around for help. And if Tony Khan is just booking these things on his own, like he said so a few months ago, then it's going to be very, very hard for them to keep Ring of Honor Wrestling and to keep all the other shows interesting, and I would much rather not have that be the case. But, hey, that's just one guy's opinion. I'm sure you have a different one. I'm sure most of you in the IWC think Ring of Honor Wrestling and Tony Khan will be just fine doing what they're doing currently right now. So if you do, leave your thoughts, comments, and predictions on the comment section below. And if you don't, who do you think should run Ring of Honor Wrestling? And do you think Tony Khan should delegate to someone to have him run that company? Leave your thoughts, comments, and predictions on the comment section below. And, earlier in the show we talked about awards. They're honoring Shad Gaspard with the Warrior Award during WrestleMania weekend. And most recently, All Elite Wrestling had their very own awards on YouTube, trying to really highlight their biggest moments, their biggest stars during the past year of in-ring competition for the company. And like most shows, like WWE had the Slammy Awards, I believe TNA and Impact Wrestling have their own award show. Everyone can have their own award show. But for the most part, in my mind, these award shows for each of the companies, they really don't matter. There's no importance. Because, well, first of all, you have to look at the categories. Look at AEW, you have the best brawl, you have the best mic moment, you have the oh my god moment. WWE has had those categories in the past. AEW has those now. And much like most of these shows, these categories are interchangeable, depending on what happened during that year of in-ring competition. If you had too much of these moments, then that becomes a category. And if you didn't have enough of these moments, then that category gets taken away for that year, and maybe it comes back a year or 2 years after if you booked enough of these moments to happen. Which is unfortunate because it takes away from the awards itself. It just seems like, it's very, very what's the word? It's very much in their own interest to make up these awards for this year's edition, just because, just to get headlines, just to highlight this one moment. So, in my mind, that takes away from awards. You have other awards like the Pro Wrestling Illustrated, and you have the Dave Meltzer Awards for some reason, but they're all individualized. They are all just in someone else's personal, individual interest, which is not something that I like. It's not really my cup of tea, because I'm a sports fan, and I'm a wrestling fan, and I'm a film fan. Those are my three main categories. And sports fans have year-end awards, and well, I'm mostly referring to soccer. Soccer has their year-end awards. They have their main organism. They vote on it. They have journalists and former players vote on it, and it's a more democratic, and it's a better way of deciding that vote. Yeah, with the film awards, you have the Oscars. You have other smaller awards, but you damn well know you have the Oscars. That means the world, and most of the categories don't change there. Those categories stay the same year after year after year. And wrestling, AEW, WWE, Impact, NWA, whatever you want to call it, whichever company you want to talk about, they don't have that. And they don't have that because wrestling, WWE, and AEW are both sports entertainment. As much as AEW fans, and as much as AEW itself doesn't want to admit it, and they won't admit it because they feel and they think that they are the complete alternative to WWE, when that is not the fact. Sports entertainment and professional wrestling pretty much became one after 1984, when Hulk Hogan started Hulkamania. That's just my view. That's just my opinion. But they're sports entertainment, so you can't really categorize them in either one. And there's not an organization, there's not a company, there's not a corporation that's holding them, either of them, to any type of standards. So they just do whatever they want in their own realm, in their own universe. And currently, that's fair. I mean, that's the wrestling world we live in. We have to stick with it. But if it were up to me, you have a ton of wrestling journalists out there. A lot of them respected. Sean Ross Sapp, Dave Meltzer, Denise Salcedo, sorry. It's hard to say a Hispanic name when I'm speaking in the mostly American accent. You have a lot more. But overall, you get all these stars, all the wrestling stars, all the wrestling news journalists together. You have them vote who truly was a breakout star in the male category, breakout star in the female category, wrestler of the year, female wrestler of the year, male wrestler of the year, tag team of the year. Have them all come together, and you really, really get yourself a true award show. And not just this category's award show, this company's award show, that company's award show. And we're just putting this guy over because in our mind, if we award him with the Wrestler of the Year award, then that puts him over, and fans now start to like him even more because we won that, and we get to put that on his pedigree. Whereas if you do what I've been mentioning, like most other businesses do, where you have former wrestlers, current wrestling media vote on a certain set of categories each year, that builds prestige. That builds credibility for the awards, for these people's opinions, for the wrestlers themselves and their craft and what they've been doing for the past year. So hopefully that'll eventually happen one day, but it's very, very doubtful because everyone out there knows that WWE lives in their own world. They live by their own rules. They live and die by their own sword. And that's just never going to change. So with that said, what do you think? Do you think wrestling itself, sports entertainment itself, should have their own separate wrestling awards for every single one of the wrestling companies in the world? Or do you think everything's just fine and just leave them be? Leave your thoughts, comments, and predictions on the comment section below. And like I said, it's Friday. It's March 25th, 2022. We are just over 1 week away from 2 nights of WrestleMania action, a hell of a WrestleMania weekend, to say the least, that we have to look forward to. We have SmackDown, we have Rampage tonight, so we are going to all have to tune into that and enjoy some great wrestling on that part. Anyway, I've been Alexis Carrillo. This has been Wrestling Talk. See you next time.